Super. I got this girl and she wants me to do super. I don't want to get copyright striked, so I'm gonna stop. Super. You'll understand why I'm doing this. Because I swear to God it'll make a whole lot of sense soon. Paste the link, post it in one Discord. Go into my other Discord. Holy shit, I forgot to copy this. Yeah, I'm Alba. I feel like my hair is really bad for some reason. Even though it's really short, I feel like it's a little blocky. But then again, I think that's also just the camera. Hey, I'm Alba. We're on my Switch. Why? Why are we shiny hunting while studying for my psych final? Well, I haven't been studying. I've been a little depressed. And I think it's because I've been in a rut, especially with the challenge, and I'm tired of the challenge, and I want to take a break. So we're gonna do some different things for the next day or two. More specifically, right now we're really gonna focus on studying, because I have a final tomorrow at 3 p.m. So in 24 hours, I'm going to be taking my psych final, and I'm gonna be fucking done with psych class. However, I know jack shit. As a result, here we are. We are going to be studying. And the reason why I chose to not play any music in the beginning was because we have our own music, chat. We don't, we have industrial...
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling industrial organizational...
We have this.
Right, IO side. Basically...
So, I'm just going to be listening to this while shiny hunting.
How organizations function well, or sometimes not so well, and how we can maybe improve things.
Uh-huh. And we have a real mix of sources today, don't we? From foundational academic stuff to some pretty interesting historical cases.
Yeah, it should give you a really rich picture of how psychology and the world of work connect.
So our goal, our mission for this deep dive
is really to pull out those key insights about human behavior in the workplace.
Okay.
Those moments that make you think, that's why that happens.
Okay, so where do we start? The very beginning.
So, this is honestly going to be a very quiet
well, if you
stream.
want to trace the roots,
Probably not going to be the best stream because I want to listen to this.
Father of experimental psychology, right?
That's him. Now, he wasn't studying, offices or factories directly.
But it's okay.
But his early lab experiments on attention, they gave us some really basic insights.
Okay, like what?
Well, he used this setup with a bell and a pendulum, and he figured out we can't truly focus our attention on two stimuli at the exact same instant.
So, no true multitasking.
Basically, no.
That's
Our
what I'm
attention
doing, though.
shifts really fast between them. And he even measured a tiny delay, about 1/8 of a second, to register each stimulus.
1/8 of a second. That sounds tiny. I guess when you think about trying to juggle emails and calls and actual work.
Right. It underlines that limitation. We're just switching focus rapidly, not doing it all simultaneously. Still very relevant today with all the distractions.
Absolutely. So once exploring basic attention, who takes it more towards practical application?
That would be James McKeen Cattell. He was much more interested in measuring individual differences, people's abilities.
More applied approach.
Definitely. He founded the Psychological Corporation, which was a really key moment, a clear shift towards using psychology in practical settings, especially for testing.
Okay, so moving from the lab towards the real world. And then,
Wow.
didn't World War One play a big role?
Oh, huge. It was a massive accelerator for IO psychology. Suddenly, the Army had this enormous need to assess the intelligence of vast numbers of recruits.
Just sheer scale of it.
Exactly. So, psychologists developed the Army alpha and beta tests.
Alpha and beta, what was the difference?
Well, the alpha was for literate English-speaking recruits. But the beta test, this was quite clever. It was designed for those who couldn't read or didn't speak English.
Wow, so they were already thinking about accessibility and fairness in testing way back then.
To some extent, yes. They tested over 1 million men. And they even used some early personality tests, trying to screen out recruits prone to neurotic tendencies.
1 million recruits tested. That must have had a big impact after the war.
It absolutely did. For one, it made psychological testing seem much more legitimate and useful to the public.
Right, it wasn't just some abstract academic thing anymore.
Precisely. It even influenced the US education system, which started reorganizing around IQ testing. And of course, it created many more jobs for psychologists in developing and using tests.
And this momentum carried into World War II as well.
Even more so. World War II saw an even bigger expansion. Psychologists were involved in testing, screening, classifying something like 3 million soldiers. It really cemented the practical value of the field.
Okay, so the large-scale testing really proved its worth in terms of assessment. But what about the experience of work? You know, motivation, satisfaction, the human element.
Yeah, that shift comes a bit later, most famously with Elton Mayo and the Hawthorne studies.
Hawthorne at the Western Electric plant. Late 20s, early 30s.
That's the one. Initially, they were just looking at things like, does better lighting improve productivity? Pretty straightforward stuff.
But they found something unexpected.
Very unexpected. They stumbled upon what we now call the
It's a
Hawthorne
weasel.
effect.
Which is the idea that people change their behavior simply because they know they're being watched, being studied.
Hawthorne
That's
affect
the
people
common
change their
understanding,
behavior
yes.
knowing that they're
But the
being
deeper
watched and
finding,
studied.
and maybe the more important one, was that the social and psychological aspects of the workplace matter much more than the physical conditions.
More than the lighting levels.
Much more. Workers seemed more motivated when they felt management actually cared about them, when supervisors took an interest.
So feeling seen and valued was key.
Exactly. And that really opened the door to studying things like leadership, group dynamics, work climate, communication. It showed we're social creatures at work, not just cogs in a machine.
That makes a lot of sense. It feels intuitive almost. You also mentioned Kurt Lewin's change model earlier. How does that fit in?
Lewin gave us a simple but powerful way to think about organizational change. It's a 3-step process.
Okay.
First, you unfreeze the current situation, basically. Reduce the things holding the old ways in place. Then you introduce the change itself. New values, new behaviors, and finally you refreeze, stabilize the new way of doing things.
Unfreeze, change, refreeze. It highlights that change isn't just flicking a switch.
Not at all. It's about managing the whole process, including the human and social element.
Right. So building on all this, IO psychology gets more specific, looking at things like hiring, training, managing people.
Exactly. That's the industrial side of IO, focusing on hiring and maintaining employees.
And that breaks down into a few key areas.
Things like understanding the job itself and what kind of person fits. That's job analysis and applicant matching. Then there's employee training, performance appraisal systems, and navigating all the legal aspects of hiring.
Let's start with hiring. It seems obvious, but getting the job description right must be crucial.
Absolutely fundamental. That's job analysis, systematically figuring out what tasks the job involves and what skills and abilities someone actually needs to do it well.
And once you know that, you can figure out how to assess candidates.
Precisely. That leads to candidate analysis using tools like tests, interviews, maybe work samples to see if someone has what it takes.
Okay, interviews. We've all been through them. What does the research say about how effective they are? Are they reliable?
Well, they can be influenced by things that aren't strictly job related. Social factors are big, like how similar the candidate seems to the interviewer, or even just body language, making eye contact, smiling. These can unconsciously sway judgments.
Potential for bias then.
Definitely. That's why research strongly favors structured interviews over unstructured ones.
Structured meaning.
Everyone gets asked the same questions in the same order, and their answers are rated using a preset scale.
So it's standardized.
Exactly. And study after study shows structured interviews are much, much better at predicting who will actually perform well on the job.
Makes sense. More objective, less room for those gut feelings that might be biased. Okay, so someone gets hired. What next? Training.
Yep. You've got orientation first, getting the new person up to speed on company policies, practices, the general culture.
Set it a lay of the land.
Right. And then there's mentoring, which can be really valuable. Pairing a newcomer with a more experienced employee.
Can be formal or informal.
Both. And research links good mentoring to positive outcomes for the mentee, like better pay, more promotions, higher job satisfaction.
So investing in that guidance pays off, and then inevitably comes evaluating performance. Performance appraisals, often a stressful topic.
They can be. The goal in IO Psych is to make appraisal systems fairer and more objective, less subjective guesswork.
How do you do that?
One approach gaining traction is 360-degree feedback.
Okay, what does that involve?
It means getting feedback not just from your boss, but also from peers, maybe direct reports if you're a manager, even customers, plus a self-assessment.
So multiple perspectives.
Exactly. It gives a much rounder picture of performance. But it needs to be handled carefully so the feedback is actually useful and not, used incorrectly or punitively.
Right. I can see how that could get complicated if not managed well. Now let's shift a bit to the O side, organizational psychology. This seems to cover the broader experience, like fairness and well-being.
Absolutely. And fairness is a big one. In the U.S., you have the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC.
Right, enforcing anti-discrimination laws.
Yes. Laws against discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, including pregnancy, national origin, age, disability, genetic information.
A broad range of protections. And this connects to ongoing issues we still see, right? Like the lack of women in top leadership roles.
It certainly does. The current gender gap in leadership highlights that even with laws in place, achieving true equity and opportunity, well, there's still work to be done.
Definitely. Another huge part of the O side is job satisfaction. How happy are people at work?
And it's more than just, do I like my tasks? It's a complex mix of thoughts and feelings about your job.
Cognitive and affective evaluations, as the sources put it.
Right. What you think about your work and how you feel about it, and it's influenced by lots of things.
Like what?
The work itself is a big one. Variety, challenge, how clear your role is, your personality plays a part, the overall organizational culture. We usually measure it with questionnaires, looking at overall satisfaction or drilling down into specific factors.
So what specific factors usually pop up as being really important for satisfaction?
Autonomy is huge, having some control over your work. The actual content of the work, as I mentioned. Communication is key, especially getting feedback.
This shit boring as fuck.
Isn't that the main thing?
Interestingly, financial rewards often have a weaker link to overall job satisfaction than you might expect.
Really? Weaker than things like autonomy or work content?
Often, yes. Other important factors are things like opportunities for growth, promotion prospects, your relationships with coworkers, the quality of supervision and feedback you get. Even workload and demands play a big role.
It's a whole package deal then, not just one thing.
Definitely. It's multifaceted.
Okay, but on the flip side, what about things that threaten our sense of security and well-being at work?
Well, job security is a major concern for many. Downsizing is a big threat, companies reducing staff, supposedly for efficiency.
And mergers or acquisitions?
Yeah, they often lead to job cuts too, because roles get duplicated when companies combine. These events create a lot of stress and uncertainty.
Understandably. Another huge stressor for many is work-family balance, that constant juggling act.
A classic challenge. Greenhouse and Butel identified 3 main sources of conflict there.
Which are?
Time-based conflict, just not enough hours in the day. Strain-based conflict, stress from one role spilling over into the other. And behavior-based conflict, when the way you need to act at work clashes with how you need to act at home.
That makes sense. How can people or organizations reduce that conflict?
Research suggests support at home practical help. Emotional support is actually the most effective buffer.
So the home front matters most.
Seems to. But workplace support is also really important. Things like having an understanding supervisor, flex time options, leave policies, maybe telecommuting
Holy
opportunities.
shit.
Those
All right, I'm gonna
workplace
switch.
Policies feel more relevant
I'm gonna switch
than ever
videos.
now.
Absolutely. They can make a huge difference.
Industrial organizational psychology makes me want to fucking kill myself. Holy boring. Holy snooze fest. All right, social psychology though.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into the really fascinating world of social psychology.
That's right.
You, our listener, have given us some great material,
God.
and our goal here is basically to pull out the key ideas.
Yeah, give you a shortcut to understanding this field. It's so relevant to, well, everything we do.
Exactly. And maybe find a few surprises too.
Definitely. We're looking at how the social world, the
I
people
want a
around us,
surprise,
really
like a nice
shapes
little
our
shiny.
thoughts, our feelings, our actions.
Your sources cover a huge amount of ground, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Everything from like our inner stuff, emotions, attitudes, to the interpersonal things, helping, aggression, prejudice, groups. It's a massive field.
It really is. And a big question that keeps coming up is,
I fucking hate shiny
what's
hunting in
more
this game.
powerful?
It's so
The
hard.
situation
It's so annoying to
or our
control. It's also
personality, our inner traits.
That's the core tension,
annoying
right?
to,
Yeah.
or hard
Situationism
to
versus
find
dispositionism.
something.
So situationism says the environment
Hard
mostly
to see if
dictates
there's
how
anything
we
with
act.
shiny.
And dispositionism is all about our internal
shiny
qualities
yet,
being
though.
the driver.
Let's dive right in there, because honestly, our first instinct often seems to be leaning towards dispositionism when we look at other people, doesn't it?
It really does. And the Quizmaster study you found is such a perfect illustration of this. Can you set that up for us?
Sure. So they randomly assigned people roles. You were either a questioner or a participant.
Okay.
The questioners had to make up difficult questions, really tough ones, and crucially, they obviously knew the answers.
Right. That's the key situational advantage.
Exactly. So the participants tried to answer these hard questions and only got about 4 out of 10 right.
Not surprising given the setup.
But here's the kicker. Afterwards, the participants rated the questioners as being much smarter than themselves.
Ah, so they didn't really account for the fact that the questioners knew the answers. They just thought, wow, that person's intelligent.
Pretty much. They underestimated the power of the situation. The role itself gave the questioner an edge.
And that tendency, overemphasizing those internal factors like intelligence and downplaying the situational stuff, that's the fundamental attribution error.
We do it all the time, don't we? Someone cuts you off.
And you think, what a jerk.
All right.
Not maybe they're rushing to
No
an
shiny
emergency
palmy.
and jump to the dispositional.
It's fascinating, too, that your sources point out this isn't universal. Culture plays a role.
Right. Individualistic cultures like the US or Western Europe seem more prone to this error.
Whereas collectivistic cultures tend to look more at the context, the relationships, the situation.
It's a broader perspective. This links into the actor-observer bias as well.
Okay, so how does that work?
Gotta
It's
stay
kind of like
awake.
the fundamental attribution error, but specifically comparing how we see others versus how we see ourselves.
Right. So when someone else does something, we often blame their personality.
Yeah, they're unreliable, they're lazy, whatever, internal
Oh.
factors.
But when we do the same thing,
Then it's the situation, right. I was late because the traffic was terrible. I snacked because I was under so much stress.
we give ourselves the benefit of the situational doubt.
Exactly. Which leads us nicely into attribution theory more broadly. It's sort of the framework for how we figure out the causes behind things.
Okay, so an attribution is just
Yeah.
our belief about why something happened.
Precisely. And the theory suggests we analyze these causes along 3 main dimensions.
Neither of those.
First, locus of control. Was it internal or external? Did it come from the person or the situation?
Okay.
Second, stability. Is the cause stable? Like
God, there's
unlikely
like
to change,
so many of them
unstable,
everywhere.
vary?
Got it. A third.
Controllability. Could the person influence or control the outcome, or was it uncontrollable?
Let's use that sports team example from the source. If they win,
We might say it's their talent, internal, their consistent hard work, stable, and their great strategy, controllable.
makes sense. But if they lose,
Then maybe it's the other team was just way more experienced, external, or they had a weird home field advantage that day, unstable, or maybe the terrible weather, uncontrollable.
we shift the explanation, which sounds a lot like the self-serving bias.
Exactly, it fits right in. We tend to take credit for our successes.
I aced the test because I studied hard and I'm smart. Internal, stable.
Right. But we blame the situation for our failures.
I failed because the test was unfair and the room was noisy. External, maybe unstable.
It's all about protecting our self-esteem, keeping that positive self-view.
Which connects to another idea mentioned, the just world hypothesis.
Ah, yes. The belief that fundamentally the world is fair. People get what they deserve.
Good things happen to good people, bad things to bad people. It gives a sense of order, I guess.
It can, but it can also lead to blaming victims, right? Assuming someone must have done something to deserve their misfortune.
My game is
It was
lagging
just bad
so
luck or
fucking bad
Yeah,
because of
that's
this
true.
rain.
Okay, so let's shift focus a bit. How did the social situations themselves, the contexts, influence us? Your sources talk about roles, norms, and scripts.
Right. So social roles are basically the expected ways to behave in a certain setting or as part of a group. Think student, employee, parent, friend.
Each role has its own sort of script
Yep.
or expectations.
Exactly. And those expectations are shaped by our culture. Social norms are the group's rules for appropriate behavior, often unspoken, like being quiet in a library.
Or waiting in line.
Precisely. And scripts are our knowledge about the sequence of events in a specific setting, like how things usually unfold when you go to a restaurant.
These things can be incredibly powerful guides for behavior. Which brings us to obedience.
Yeah, changing behavior to comply with an authority figure. The Milgram studies were, well, shocking in that regard.
Showing how many people would administer what they thought were painful shocks just because someone in a lab coat told them to.
A really stark example. And then there's the Stanford prison experiment.
Another classic, maybe infamous study, college students randomly assigned to be guards or prisoners.
And it had to be stopped early after only 6 days instead of 2 weeks.
Because the guards became genuinely authoritarian, even cruel. And the prisoners became passive, distressed.
It powerfully illustrated how quickly people can slip into social roles and how much the situation can dominate behavior. Really potent stuff.
It really is. So moving from behavior driven by roles, what about our internal evaluations, our attitudes?
Right, attitudes. Our judgments about people, ideas, objects, positive or negative.
And the sources break these down into 3 parts.
Yep, the affective part, our feelings, the behavioral part, how it influences our actions, and the cognitive part, our beliefs and knowledge about it.
So feelings, actions, thoughts. What happens when those don't line up?
That's cognitive dissonance. That uncomfortable feeling we get when we hold conflicting beliefs or attitudes, or when our behavior contradicts our beliefs.
Like smoking when you know it's bad for you.
Classic example. You feel that tension, and we're motivated to reduce it.
How do we do that?
Well, you could change your behavior, quit smoking, or change your belief or attitude, maybe downplay the risks, it's not that bad, or rationalize, it helps me relax.
Or add a new thought to justify it. I exercise a lot, so it cancels out.
Exactly. Find a way to make the inconsistency feel less inconsistent. Your sources also mentioned the effect of initiation.
Oh yeah, this study about joining the discussion group.
Right, Aronson and Mills. Students had either no initiation, an easy one, or a really difficult, embarrassing one to join a group about sex psychology.
And the finding was?
The ones who went through the difficult initiation actually liked the boring discussion group more.
Why?
Justification of effort. I went through all that hassle, so this group must actually be pretty great. We value things more if we suffer for them. Think hazing rituals or tough training.
That makes a weird kind of sense. Okay, so if attitudes can be inconsistent, they can also be changed. Let's talk about persuasion.
Persuasion is just trying to change someone's attitude through communication. Ads, political speeches, friends trying to convince you. It's everywhere.
And the elaboration likelihood model.
Let me see your eyes.
There are 2 main ways this
Nah.
happens.
Yeah, 2 routes. The central route is about logic, facts, strong arguments.
For people who are analytical and willing to think deeply about the message.
Right, and attitude changes through this route tend to stick. Then there's the peripheral route.
That's more indirect.
Yeah, it uses cues like celebrity endorsements, positive emotions, attractiveness, stuff not directly related to the argument itself.
Like using a cute puppy in an ad that has nothing to do with puppies.
Exactly. It can change attitudes quickly, but
Wait.
often less permanently. It relies on heuristics or mental shortcuts.
No.
And there are specific techniques, like the foot in the door,
Yep. Start small. Ask her for a little favor they'll probably agree to.
like signing a petition,
Then follow up with a bigger related request.
like asking for a donation. Because they already complied once, they feel more compelled to be consistent.
Right. And the flip side is the door in the face.
Start huge.
Ask for something really big. They'll reject.
Can I borrow $1,000? No way.
Then you follow up with your actual smaller request. Okay, well, how about $20?
And it seems more reasonable by comparison. Maybe they feel like they owe you a concession.
That's the idea. Classic negotiation tactic, really.
Okay, so that's persuading individuals. What about the influence of the group itself? Let's talk conformity.
Conformity is basically changing your behavior to match the group, even if you don't necessarily agree internally.
The Ash experiments are the famous example here, right? With the lines.
Yeah, judging line lengths. People were in a group where everyone else, secretly Confederates, gave the obviously wrong answer.
And what happened?
A significant number, something like 76% of participants, conformed to the wrong answer at least once, even though they could clearly see it was wrong.
Wow. Why do people do that?
2 main reasons, usually. Normative social influence, we want to fit in, be liked, avoid looking foolish.
Peer pressure.
Yeah, pretty much. And informational social influence, we conform because we think the group has the right information, especially if the situation is ambiguous or we feel unsure. We trust the group's judgment over our own.
Does anything make conformity more or less likely?
Sure. The size of the majority matters. More people conforming usually increases pressure up to a point. But crucially, having just one other person dissent, just one ally who breaks from the majority.
That makes a big difference.
Huge. It dramatically reduces conformity. Also, whether you have to state your opinion publicly or privately, more conformity happens in public.
And conformity isn't always benign. It can lead to things like groupthink.
Right. That's when the desire for group harmony overrides realistic thinking. People suppress dissenting opinions to maintain consensus.
Which can lead to really bad decisions because alternatives aren't properly considered.
Exactly. And then there's group polarization.
Where discussion actually makes the group's initial views more extreme.
Yeah. If a group already leans slightly in one direction,
What's up, Moon?
talking about it and tends to push them further that way. They reinforce each other's opinions.
Okay, let's shift slightly again. How does being in a group affect our performance on tasks? The sources mention social facilitation and social loafing.
Right. Social facilitation is interesting. When others are watching, we tend to do better on simple or well-learned tasks.
The audience energizes us.
Kind of. But if the task is difficult or new, having an audience can actually make us perform worse. We get anxious or distracted.
And social
I'm
loafing.
pretty
That's
good.
when people put in less
Just shiny
effort when
hunting
they're working in a
while
group
studying for my
compared to when
psych
they're working
final.
alone, especially if their individual contribution isn't being monitored.
Just a
Like
chill
in a group
day.
project where you feel like you can hide.
Exactly. It's more common on easy tasks where people feel their input isn't essential. On difficult tasks, sometimes people actually work harder in a group, maybe feeling their contribution is more needed.
Makes sense. Now we need to tackle a really critical area: prejudice and discrimination.
Absolutely crucial. Let's clarify the terms first, based on your sources. Prejudice is the negative attitude or feeling toward a group.
Like, I don't like fans of that team.
Right. A stereotype is the specific belief or assumption about that group.
Fans of that team are all arrogant.
And discrimination is the negative action or behavior towards someone because of their group membership.
I wouldn't hire a fan of that team. And these apply to things like racism, sexism.
That sounds boring.
ageism, all sorts of
Yes,
red
very
flags.
much so.
The sources also bring up the dual attitudes model.
It's studying
Which
for
says we can
psychology,
have both
but
explicit and implicit attitudes.
shiny hunting in the background,
Explicit are the
so
ones we're aware of that we can consciously report. I believe in equality.
just a
But
chill
implicit
stream
attitudes are unconscious, automatic.
Right.
until I get a
And someone
shiny
might
and scream my
explicitly
head off.
reject prejudice, but still show biases on an implicit level, influencing their behavior without them realizing it.
How do these biases stick around? Confirmation bias seems relevant here.
Definitely. We tend to look for and pay attention to information that confirms what we already believe and ignore stuff that contradicts it.
So if you have a stereotype, you notice examples that fit
Seems
it
like
and
you
overlook
change
those that
runs every
It
time we
reinforces
talk.
the stereotype, and that ties into the self-fulfilling prophecy.
don't. Okay, how does that work with stereotypes?
Well, if you hold a stereotype about a group, say you think they're unfriendly, you might act guarded or cold towards a member of that group,
Which might cause them to react in an unfriendly way back to you.
thus confirming your original stereotype. See? I knew they were unfriendly. Your expectation influenced the interaction to make it come true.
The Pygmalion effect study with teachers and students. is
How do
a
people
powerful
study?
Example of this, isn't it?
Absolutely. Teachers' expectations,
I'm losing my mind
even
right
if
now.
based on false information, actually
Oh,
influenced
shiny?
how well students performed. High expectations led to better performance, low expectations to worse.
It really highlights the impact of our beliefs about others.
Fuck.
We also naturally divide the world into in-groups and out-groups, right?
No.
We do. In-groups are the groups we belong to, feel part of. Out-groups are everyone else, those we see as different.
And this can lead to in-group bias.
Yeah, favoring our own group. We tend to see our
Evie,
group members more
Roselia,
positively,
Hitmonlee. Oh,
and out-group
okay.
members more
Nice, nice, nice.
negatively, or at least more homogeneously.
And sometimes when things go wrong for our group,
I
we might resort
would-
to scapegoating.
Blaming an out-group for the in-group's problems or frustrations, it directs anger
Not a bad team.
outwards instead of addressing internal issues.
I wouldn't
It's a
replace Evie
complex
for
issue.
Excadrill.
Do
I'd
the sources
replace
offer
Golett
any
for
hope
Excadrill.
reducing prejudice?
Oh shit.
They do mention things like fostering empathy, really trying to understand the other group's perspective.
I completely forgot.
Acknowledging past harms and
I completely forgot. What was? Oh shit. I was supposed to do an attendance quiz. What was? Oh fuck. Oh, shit. When does this due? Fine, then. Don't replace Excadrill for Eevee. Evolve Eevee into something else. Okay. I have some time. Let me ask somebody. Hold on. Let me ask some rando. Select the course. I should definitely do that so time doesn't pass. Chafee. Students. Here, I'll send it to all these people. Hold on, I'll send it to all these people. Nathan. Oh, it's the Gigantamax Eevee. Oh, because you play Let's Go Eevee. Oh, well, all right. Well, I guess you can replace it then. I would have grabbed the Pikachu, but that's just because I like Let's Go Pikachu more. If you know someone who has Let's Go Pikachu, you should just ask for their cartridge. Yo, what was the attendance code? I'm gonna ask this to like 50 different people and see if any respond to me. Oh, here, let me insert an image. My granny, cause she said Chavio worked too hard again. That's understandable. Granny. Sorry, chat. I gotta ask these people some stuff. I gotta ask if they have the attendance code that I forgot to get. Oh man, I can't believe. Fly me to the moon, let me hang among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on a Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. Baby, kiss me. Bam. Fill my heart with song. Let me sing forevermore.
Actively stopping destructive behaviors. It requires conscious effort.
Okay, let's shift to another potentially negative behavior. Aggression.
Define as behavior intended to cause harm or pain.
Your sources mention a biological link, particularly with hormones like testosterone.
Yes, there's a correlation. Higher testosterone levels are often found in males convicted of violent crimes, for instance. And studies show increasing testosterone can make people more attuned to anger or more argumentative.
So it facilitates aggression.
It seems to play a role, maybe lowering the threshold for aggressive responses, particularly in contexts related to status or mating, historically speaking. It's complex, though.
It's not just testosterone, right? Serotonin levels are also mentioned.
Right. Lower levels of serotonin, which usually helps inhibit impulsive behavior, are linked to higher aggression.
So it's like testosterone might be the gas pedal and serotonin is the brake.
That's one way to think about it, yeah. And cortisol, the stress hormone, also seems to play an inhibitory role. It might be the ratio between these things that matters most. It's definitely not simple.
The sources also discuss bullying.
Which is repeated negative treatment. intended to harm or humiliate. It can be physical, verbal, or
on.
social, like exclusion.
And it has really damaging effects on victims' anxiety, depression.
Absolutely.
Bullying
And
is
there can be
needed.
some gender
Bullying is
differences in
needed.
how it's expressed.
As someone
Some
who's been
boys and
bullied,
girls
bullying is
engage
needed.
in and suffer from bullying.
Okay, from aggression. to the
Bullying
opposite
helps you
side.
lock the fuck
Healthy
in.
behavior.
Everybody should be
Pro-social
bullied.
behavior.
Voluntary actions intended to help others, but sometimes we don't help, even when we should. That's the bystander effect.
The famous Kitty Genovese case brought this to light. Multiple witnesses, nobody intervened effectively for a long time.
And the key reason seems to be diffusion of responsibility. When others are present, we feel less personally responsible to act. Someone else will surely do something.
It's kind of counterintuitive. You'd think more people means more safety.
But often it means less likelihood of any one person stepping up. However, people clearly do help each other too.
That's altruism, right? Helping even when it costs you something, with no obvious benefit.
Yes, that's the definition. Though there's always debate about whether truly selfless altruism exists. Maybe helping just makes us feel good, which is a benefit.
But empathy is a big driver.
Huge. Understanding and sharing someone else's
Well,
feelings
no char cadet.
compels us to help. Whether it's purely selfless or has some ego component, pro-social behavior is vital.
Okay, last big topic. Relationships. How do we form them?
Several factors jump out from the sources. First, simple proximity.
Just being around people makes us more likely to form relationships with them. Makes sense.
Then similarity or homophily.
What'd you get?
We tend
Shiny?
to like and connect with people who are like us.
Better be a
similar
shiny.
backgrounds, attitudes, values, birds of a feather.
Flock together.
What else? Reciprocity. Relationships need give and take. We like people who like us back.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
self-disclosure. Sharing personal information.
That's key for building intimacy. Gradually sharing more about ourselves deepens connection.
What about love itself? Sternberg's triangular theory.
Right. He proposed 3 components: intimacy, closeness, connection, passion, romance, physical attraction, and commitment, decision to stay together.
And different combinations make different kinds of love, like intimacy plus passion, romantic love, but without commitment.
Exactly. Consummate love involves all 3. And finally, social exchange theory.
This sounds a bit transactional.
It kind of is. It views relationships like an economic exchange. We weigh the benefits against the costs.
And we say
Pollywag?
the benefits outweigh the costs.
Pollywag!
Generally, yes. We want to maximize benefits and minimize costs in our social interactions. It sounds calculating, but it's often an unconscious process.
There's no shiny.
Wow. So wrapping this all up, social psychology just reveals so many layers to our everyday interactions.
It really does. These forces
Kill
of
it.
the situation, our attributions, roles, attitudes, group dynamics, they're constantly shaping us, often in ways we don't even notice.
And seeing how
Kill it,
interconnected
dude.
it all is, the situation influencing attribution, which affects attitudes, which plays into conformity, it's a whole web.
Absolutely. Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listener.
Yeah, maybe take a moment and think about your own day. How might these principles be playing out?
When you interact with someone, what assumptions are you making? Are you falling prey to the fundamental attribution error? How might your roles be shaping your behavior without
I'm just
you
doing this for the
realizing it?
Pokedex.
Could
Just so I
understanding
can
this stuff offer a new way to look at
get it
things?
logged.
Maybe make interactions a little smoother, or help you understand disagreements better.
It's definitely something to reflect on. There's always more to learn about why we do what we do in the social world.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for diving
Now we know.
deep into social psychology with us today.
Okay, social psychology, I think I know quite well. Let's look at treatment.
All right, let's dive in. Today, we're taking a deep look into something incredibly important: the world of psychological treatment. We've got a stack of material here, notes, research that covers the whole spectrum, really. From the earliest attempts to help people struggling with psychological disorders, right up to the diverse approaches we see today.
Yeah, and our goal is to unpack all of this, to pull out the core insights, understand the wild
If you're annoyed with these voices, how do you think I feel? I've
Really is
listened
how
to
we
these
went from
every single
literally
day, every single year.
locking people away
Not every
to
single day,
having
but
dozens of therapies and medications available, and also to really grapple with the big challenges that, well, still exist.
Absolutely. It's quite a narrative, and it starts in a really heavy place. The earliest points in this material describe the very first institutions built specifically for people experiencing psychological distress, the early asylums.
Yes, and it's crucial to understand what they weren't. They weren't designed for treatment, not really.
let's go. Somebody sent me the
Primary
attendance
purpose
code.
was essentially to remove people from society, to ostracize.
Yeah. What are your okay, I got the attendance code. Now we can do our attendance. What are your plans over summer? Get kick names and no. Make money, spend money. There you go. Make money, spend money. There you go. All right. I am done with this bullshit class. There you go. Get out of my face. Get out of my fucking face. Get the fuck out of my face. I'm done. I'm done with one class. And then tomorrow I'll be done with the other. And then Sunday I'll be done with my final class. Holy shit, is that a shiny Scyther? Where the fuck did it go? Oh, there it is. Holy what the fuck? Scrafty, fuck off. Okay, it just keeps spawning in and out. Get the fuck off the bike. This is why I hate this game so fucking much, dude. Holy shit. I mean, I don't need it, but okay. Hi, Scyther. That's crazy. Alright. Well, anywho. Let's see if there's anything. Let's see if there's a second shiny around here. You never know. You never know. You can never be careful. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any other shiny. Wow, that was out of nowhere. I'm probably gonna give this one away. You want this? Moon, you want this one? Because I already have a shiny Scyther. So if you want, you can have this. What ball should I catch it in? I'm offline. Oh, it's okay. Well, I mean, I can save it for you. I think... Ooh. What ball do I catch it in? What's the move, chat? I don't remember my password. For what? For Nintendo Switch? Online? Oh, okay. Do repeat ball? Alright, I'll take it, yeah. Repeat ball works with me. Because I don't even know what I want this thing to be, so... Anywho.
And the conditions described... They were horrific.
I can't wait for this game to look so good
We're talking
with
about
the Switch 2.
In what sound like, windowless dungeons, often chained to their beds with virtually no human contact or care. It's almost hard to imagine.
It really is. Though the material does note a fascinating turning point around 1795.
Yeah.
There was this push, starting with figures like Philippe Pinel in France.
Oh, right.
To remove the chains and adopt a more compassionate approach.
Right.
But, and this is a really critical
really?
detail, this more humane care was often only extended to those from the upper classes.
A stark reminder, even early progress was tangled up with inequality. So, following this asylum era, the material points to the widespread use of physical restraints and what's termed custodial care.
Yeah, we're talking chains, straitjackets, methods intended primarily just to subdue patients, people who were seen as disruptive or dangerous.
This sounds brutal.
Well, these practices weren't necessarily born purely of malice, but they absolutely reflected the deep stigma, the fear, and just the fundamental misunderstanding of mental illness that was so prevalent back then.
But what's compelling is how these harsh conditions themselves sort of spurred reform, right?
Exactly. People like Dorothea Dix here in the U.S. and Jean-Baptiste Poussin, who actually worked with Pinel, they pushed back hard against this. They advocated for basic human dignity and, actual care.
And that push carried forward. As we move into the 20th century, the understanding of mental illness starts to shift again. There's a significant return mentioned.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Explanations.
Right. The thinking becomes maybe the problem isn't just moral or societal. Maybe it's something physically wrong in the brain or body.
And this led to some pretty radical and frankly...
Is it a Golurk outbreak? What outbreak is this?
Oh, definitely. The notes mentioned the prefrontal lobotomy, introduced around 1935, essentially severing connections in the brain's frontal lobes. And then, in 1938, electroconvulsive therapy, or ECT, which involved administering an electrical shock to the brain.
It's worth pointing out, though, that ECT is still used today, according to the research.
It is, absolutely.
Okay.
But it's undergone massive refinements. It's not the same procedure described in those early days at all. Much safer, much more targeted.
Okay, that's important context. So this leads us to another huge shift, particularly in the latter half of the 20th century, deinstitutionalization.
Right. The big idea was to close those sprawling, often inhumane asylums and start treating people
I think
in their own communities.
On the surface,
it's
that
inside
sounds
the
like the
cave. I
humane,
think we're on
logical
top
next
of the
step, a much better
of
approach.
everything,
It
and
did
there's a
sound better,
cave
but the
with
sources
the
detail a really
outbreak.
heartbreaking reality. The patients were released, yes, but the
I don't know
community
where.
infrastructure just, it wasn't ready. It wasn't there.
So the system wasn't set up effectively.
Precisely. The planned community mental health centers were critically underfunded. Staff often weren't adequately trained to manage severe mental illnesses in this new outpatient setting.
And the consequence.
Well, the devastating
Oh.
consequence, as the notes highlight, was a significant increase in homelessness among this vulnerable population. It was essentially a failure of execution with profound human costs.
Wow. Good intentions, but terrible follow through. It really makes you think about how systems fail. So, how does that compare to the landscape today? Those old asylums are largely gone.
They are. They've mostly been replaced by modern psychiatric hospitals or dedicated units within general hospitals.
And the biggest change you see now.
It's the focus on short-term stays. The average length of time someone spends in a hospital for psychiatric reasons today is incredibly short, often less than 2 weeks.
And the material is pretty clear on why that is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's largely driven by high costs and the limits of insurance coverage.
Honestly, I probably don't even need this
Hospitalization is
Pokemon.
typically reserved now for acute crises, usually when someone is deemed
I'm
an
just gonna
imminent threat to
reset.
themselves or others.
Okay, so if most people aren't ending up in hospitals,
I don't know what it is,
where
but I
are
probably
they
don't
getting
need
help
it.
today?
Because I only need Gen 8 and Gen 9 Pokemon.
Much different. The options are far more numerous now. The notes list things like community mental health centers, individual private practitioners or clinics.
Right, like therapists in private practice.
Exactly. And even within schools, you've got counselors, school psychologists, social workers. Group therapy is also a major modality today.
The sources also make a distinction between treatment that's involuntary versus voluntary.
That's important. Involuntary might be, say, a condition of parole or court-ordered treatment. Voluntary treatment is when you yourself choose to seek therapy because you want relief from symptoms or want to work on something.
And who are the professionals providing this care now?
It's a wider range.
Yeah.
You have psychologists with PhDs or PSIDs, psychiatrists who are medical doctors and can prescribe medication, clinical social workers, LCSWs, and marriage and family therapists, MFTs. Lots of different training backgrounds.
Okay, so the settings and providers have evolved dramatically. Now let's dig into the actual treatments themselves. The sources categorize them pretty neatly into two main buckets: biomedical therapies and psychotherapy.
Makes sense. Let's start with biomedical. These approaches are basically grounded in the idea that psychological disorders have a biological root,
Like something structural in the brain.
either structural, like abnormalities, or maybe a biochemical imbalance in the neurotransmitters or hormones being off kilter.
Got it. And within this category, there are some somatic or physical interventions mentioned besides medication.
Right. Things like light therapy.
I do need
which is
Greedent.
used for seasonal affective disorder. Basically helps reset your body's internal clock, your circadian rhythms,
Interesting.
and also deep brain stimulation, or DBS. This is a more
I
modern
do need a
kind of related to
Greedent.
ECT in a way, but much more precise. It involves surgically implanting electrodes to stimulate a specific area deep within the brain, like Area 25, associated with mood regulation.
Wow, that sounds quite involved.
It is. But then, the most common biomedical treatment by far today is psychotropic medications, or pharmacotherapy.
Right, the meds. These are prescribed by psychiatrists, the medical doctors.
Correct. And their fundamental mechanism is usually about changing the levels or the effects of neurotransmitters in the brain, those chemical messengers we talked about.
The big categories mentioned
Alright, see you
are
later, Moon.
antipsychotics.
Yep, those often work by blocking dopamine receptors. They're used for treating psychotic symptoms like hallucinations or delusions.
And antidepressants. These are probably the most well known.
Definitely. They alter neurotransmitter levels, most famously serotonin. Think of the SSRIs like Prozac, Zoloft. The goal is to improve mood.
And the material notes they're used for more than just depression.
Oh yeah, they show up as treatments for major depression, certainly, but also for things like bulimia, various anxiety disorders, even OCD. The notes do list potential side effects, of course, things like sexual dysfunction, sometimes agitation, insomnia, upset stomach. It varies.
And there are other types too: anxiolytics, mood stabilizers.
Right, anxiolytics for anxiety, stimulants often for ADHD, mood stabilizers for bipolar disorder, and so on. A key takeaway
Are those
here,
white
though, is that while
basculin?
medication
Whoa,
can be
that's
used
cool.
alone, it's very often used in combination with psychotherapy.
Which brings us neatly to that second major
Whoa.
category: psychotherapy, talk therapy.
Exactly. This is essentially a trained professional using psychological techniques, talking, exercises, different frameworks to help someone overcome difficulties, disorders, or just improve their life.
And the list here in the source material is extensive. It reflects all these different schools of thought that have developed over time.
Totally. Psychoanalytic, humanistic, behavioral, cognitive, and then combinations like CBT, plus more specific ones like play therapy and family therapy. It's a lot.
Let's start at the beginning. The very first formal psychotherapy detailed was psychoanalysis, right? Freud.
That's the one. Pioneered by Sigmund Freud way back in the early 20th century. Its core aim was really to uncover deeply buried, often unconscious feelings or conflicts that were believed to be causing the person's current problems.
And the techniques are pretty famous, even if maybe less used in their pure form today.
Oh yeah, free association, where you just say whatever comes to mind, no filtering. The therapist listens for resistance.
Resistance, like when you clam up.
Exactly. Or suddenly change the subject. It suggests you might be hitting on something difficult that you're unconsciously trying to avoid. Then there's dream analysis, where the therapist helps interpret the symbolic meaning of dreams.
And transference, that sounds familiar.
Right. That's when the client unconsciously redirects feelings they have about important people in their life, like a parent, onto the therapist. The therapist uses this to help the client understand those relationship patterns.
So while pure psychoanalysis might be less common now,
Its ideas definitely evolved.
Yeah.
It led into what's often called psychodynamic psychotherapy today. Still talk therapy, still rooted in exploring how past experiences and unconscious patterns influence your present behavior, but often less intensive and maybe broader in focus.
oh, okay. Moving away from the unconscious then, we find behavior therapy. This sounds much more practical.
It is. The goal here is incredibly straightforward: changing maladaptive behavior. Full stop.
How does that work in practice?
Well, the process is pretty logical. First, you identify the specific problem behavior. Then you figure out what's reinforcing it in the person's environment, what keeps it going. And finally, you modify things to stop reinforcing the unwanted behavior while starting to reinforce the behavior you do want, very learning theory based.
The sources give treating phobias as a classic example, using techniques from classical conditioning, like counter conditioning.
Exactly. Counterconditioning involves pairing the thing someone fears with something positive or relaxing. The idea is to help the client learn a new response relaxation instead of fear that's incompatible with the old fear response.
And there are specific techniques mentioned under that umbrella.
Yes, two key ones. First, aversive conditioning. This uses an unpleasant stimulus to try and stop an unwanted behavior. Think of pairing a bad taste with smoking, or the drug antabuse for alcoholism, which causes severe nausea if alcohol is consumed.
Oof, that sounds rough.
It can be. The other, much more widely used for anxiety and phobias, is exposure therapy.
Right, facing your fears.
Pretty much. It involves repeated exposure to the feared object or situation, but in a safe, controlled way. The idea is you gradually learn that the anxiety isn't endless, you can tolerate it, and eventually it decreases. Habituation.
And exposure therapy itself has different models described.
It does. There's systematic desensitization, which is very gradual. You create a hierarchy of feared situations from least scary to most scary, and pair exposure at each step with relaxation techniques.
Okay, step by step.
Then there's participant modeling, where the therapist actually demonstrates calm interaction with the feared item or situation while the client observes and then tries it.
Learning by watching.
And finally, flooding, or sometimes called implosion therapy. This is the intense version, exposing you to the most feared stimulus right away, full blast.
Whoa, does that work?
The idea is that fear is time limited, so if you stay in the situation long enough, the anxiety will eventually subside and the phobia might extinguish. But the sources note this is rarely used now. It can be overwhelming and often backfires, potentially making things worse.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, shifting focus again, we come to cognitive therapy. This zeroes in on a person's thoughts.
Exactly. The core idea here is that it's not necessarily events themselves that cause distress, but how we think about them. Maladaptive thinking patterns can lead to negative emotions and behaviors.
So the goal is cognitive restructuring.
It's a process. First, become aware of your automatic negative or inaccurate thoughts. Second, recognize how these thoughts lead to negative feelings. Third, actively challenge and substitute those thoughts with more realistic or helpful ways of thinking. Then sort of gather feedback on whether the new thinking feels more accurate or helpful.
The example given is how constantly interpreting everything through a lens of personal loss or defeat can fuel depression.
That's a classic cognitive model of depression. Your thoughts shape your reality and your mood.
This leads us logically to what the material suggests is perhaps the most widely used therapy today: cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT.
What's up, Hacker Got
CBT
Hacks?
explicitly links thoughts and behaviors. It
Don't
helps
mind
clients
the
examine how their thoughts
incredibly
and
boring
vice versa.
psych lecture
Think
going
about
on.
OCD, the obsessive thoughts
I have a
that lead
final
to
tomorrow,
compulsive
so
And a prime example of CBT
I'm locking
action,
in
meant
to
for
an
OCD,
extent.
is exposure and response prevention,
Locking in.
or ERP.
Yes, ERP is considered the gold standard for OCD. It combines elements we've talked about.
How you
the
doing?
Exposure part, systematic, gradual.
How are you doing on this
things that
fine
trigger
day?
Excessive fears or thoughts.
Okay, facing the trigger.
But then, crucially, there's response prevention. You actively prevent the person from doing the compulsive
Good.
ritual they
That's good.
normally use to reduce the anxiety.
So if you fear contamination,
I gotta say,
you touch the contaminated
I
object,
hate
but then you're
Scarlet and
prevented from
Violet so
washing your
much.
hands excessively.
because I'm running it on a normal
And at the same
Switch.
time, the cognitive part
And
comes
look
in.
at this shit. This shit's
You actively
lagging
challenge
so
irrational
fucking bad.
fears.
I can't
Like,
wait.
did touching that crack really break
I'm not going to get a Switch 2 immediately,
The goal is
but
to let the person
I
experience
can't wait for the
anxiety
Switch 2
without the
to
compulsion,
just
allowing it to naturally
help
decrease over
with
time
Scarlet and
with
Violet.
sensation, and proving the feared outcome doesn't happen.
How effective is it?
The sources note it's pretty effective for those who can tolerate
What's
it.
your quick
Maybe
question?
50,
What's up?
25% see improvement, but it's tough. About 25% can't stick with it, and relapse rates can still be high if people don't maintain the skills.
Makes sense. Now, for children, the material describes something different: play therapy.
Right. This adapts psychodynamic principles for kids who maybe can't verbalize their feelings easily. Instead of just talking, the child
All
uses
right.
toys, dolls.
Shut the fuck up. Okay. A shiny Pokemon it's a rare variation of Pokemon. They're different colored. And essentially, they're different colored and they're really rare. They are usually the normal rates are 1 in 4,000. However, they can be modified to say 1 in 2,000, or even they can even be brought down to 1 in 100. And they're just really rare, different colored Pokemon. An example being, here, Lucario. You know how Lucario looks? This is its shiny version. Or Blastoise. Yes, exactly like the Ponyta. Exactly like the Ponyta. That's a shiny Ponyta. It's, yeah. And then Swampert. Yeah, right now I'm just shiny hunting. I love Swampert so much, bro. Swampert's so peak. One of my favorite shiny. Oh, you must have seen the red Gyarados, haven't you? This is clean right here. This is one of the cleanest shiny Pokemon ever. Truly iconic. Hey, thank you for the sub or follow. I appreciate it. Incineroar, another one of my favorites. Zoomeril, which is nice gold, and then my favorite Pokemon, Metagross. So, nearly every Pokemon has a shiny variation, or every Pokemon does have a shiny variation. However, some of them you just can't get in game because they're shiny locked. But Reshiram, Zekrom, I think Red Gyarados was a gender difference. Yeah, no, it's actually just a really rare shiny Pokemon. Not really rare considering you get it for free in what's it called? in Heart Gold Soul Silver, but yep. So a lot of the Pokemon community, we just enjoy hunting for these different variants. And right now I'm trying to complete a living dex of them where I'm going to essentially have like every shiny Pokemon. So like a shiny Basculin and then 2 shiny Basculegions, you know. I'm trying to essentially fill out the Pokedex by getting every single one of them. Another thing I hate about Scarlet and Violet is The fucking color is so off. Like, I can't tell if some of these are shiny and some of these aren't. Like, they all look like a different shade. Alright. Well, I mean, yeah, it is really lame. Like, they shiny lock a lot of the starters. So you have to, like, breed to get a shiny. Or some legendaries they shiny lock. It's lame. I mean, sometimes they do it, you know, for story purposes. Sometimes they just do it because they want to do event distributions. I don't like it. I really don't like it, but it's okay. It's whatever. It's only a small handful, and they can't keep shiny Victini locked forever. Oh my god, yes, that's a shiny. Oh lord, I hope you caught it. Oh, I hope you caught it. Yes, any Pokemon that's a different color or you see like stars come out of it, that is a shiny Pokemon, my brother. You gotta get that. Shiny Heracross, another great one. Whenever you see a Pokemon that's just different colored, that's a shiny. Right now we're looking for a shiny Greedent because I need it for the living decks, and shiny Greedent is pink. None of these look pink. Oh, hold on. My Zangoose is a little eepy. He's a little tired. God, I really hope you caught that shiny Heracross. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. And I mean, you may not be the only person to have it, but nonetheless, shiny alpha Pokemon are very rare. I hope keep that in PLA. Keep that in Legends Arceus, because if you transfer it out, it'll lose its size. It'll be like a normal sized Pokemon, I believe. It won't be big alpha like it is in game. So just keep it in Legends of Arceus. Like a lot of my shinies that like aren't duplicates are still in Legends Arceus, just because that game is just so fun and a whole different experience that I don't really want to move them out. Compared to like my Sword and Shield shinies, I moved them all into this game because this is like the new mainline game. That's just how I think. Do whatever you like. See, I hate this because this looks like, it makes it look like Greedent is fucking gray. And it's like, ooh, is that the shiny? No. The colors are all messed up. The sprites just are all over the place. The game lags. Like, truly, this could have been one of the best Pokemon games, but it's like a solid 4 in my book, just because it is so hard to run. It is just, and honestly, I think the big issue is because I don't have a PC or an OLED. I have a normal Switch, but the fact that a normal Switch has this much trouble is still like, that's a good chunk of the population with the normal Switch. Like, not everybody has an OLED. And I really don't want to get a Switch 2, because it's extremely pricey and Nintendo's doing really fucked up shit with it. But God, to see Pokemon Legends of Arceus, Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, to see them look good, oh, that'd be a dream come true. Truly. I'm done with this, V, so you might try. Oh, okay. Yeah. There's multiple ways. The best ways are with sandwiches, but then also, or the best way is mass outbreaks and then using sandwiches. I'm just doing mass outbreaks right now, but I'm gonna do sandwich hunts later. Okay. I'm going to do sandwich hunts later because I'm going to pop like a grass sandwich and then go after many grass Pokemon, like back to back to back to back. But I might have a single shiny in Scarlet and Violet, but it looked the same as normal one. The reason I think Yeah, there will always be shiny sparkles. Whenever you encounter a Pokemon, unfortunately, only in PLA will you hear a sound or see the sparkles in the overworld. But in Scarlet and Violet, if you run into the Pokemon, you will see the sparkles. And I know the Pokemon may have looked the same. That's because a lot of shiny Pokemon are really bad. Like, or not a lot, but I'd say like 30% of shiny Pokemon. Yeah, Persian, yeah. Persian's a bad example. Like, Persian is just a bad shiny. I can show you some right now that are just really bad variants. I mean, hey, still cool though. Like, despite them being bad, like, it sucks, but I still find them cool. Because, I mean, hey, it's a shiny. Let me see. Let me go into my boxes and show you some. Yeah, accidentally is... Mabostiff, for example, he's like a little purpler instead of gray. Mabostiff is one of my favorite Pokemon, but this is kind of a mediocre shiny. Kind of a shit shiny. Hippopotas. Like, Hippopotas is... It's not that noticeable, honestly. Maybe if it was in a group you'd notice, but... Pichu for sure. Yeah, look at Pichu shiny. This is a shiny Pichu. Like, Pichu fucking... No. Pikachu... Okay, so this is... You have static, okay. Do you have static? Okay, you all have static. Pikachu is actually a little better than Pichu, but still, I mean... Oh, well, this one I bred. But also, if you throw out a Pokemon... If you throw a Pokemon out to attack another Pokemon that's shiny... Even if you can't tell, the game will make sure that the Pokemon doesn't attack it and kill it when you send it into Let's Go mode. Shinies are the only thing I knew. Yeah, the odds are 40-96. Let me think of some other bad shinies. I wanna blow your mind. Ooh, here. Seal. Seal is a pretty bad shiny. It's yellow, but especially in this game, it's very hard to tell compared to the white version. So, that's an iffy one. What else? Ooh, Garchomp. I don't have a Garchomp in this game, but Garchomp is probably one of the worst shinies. Garchomp doesn't change at all. What does Indeedee look like? Indeedee's not that bad. Oh, Tynamo. Look at Tynamo right here. It gets a little more blue. Yeah, it's really cool. Machamp is one. Oh, no. We're talking about shinies that are bad in the sense of you can't even fucking tell what they look like. If we're talking about, like, I don't like the color green on a shiny, that's just preference. But this is objectively a bad shiny Pokemon. Because you can't even tell it's fucking shiny. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hunting in water especially. But I believe you can find them in, like, Chargestone Cave. The remake of Chargestone Cave on Blueberry Island. I'm pretty sure those are all the bad shinies I have. Actually, wait. Gimme Gold doesn't even change. This is shiny, right? Yeah. Yeah, Gimme Gold doesn't change at all. Flabébé, God, maybe you're right. What is Flabébé shiny? I think Flabébé shiny is like a part of it gets white, but it's so small that it's really hard to tell. But I'd say Flabébé. What does Shroodle look like? Shroodle's an alright shiny. Its eyes and tongue get different, but that's about it. It's not that bad, though. Look more orange on Dynamo. Yeah, it's little things. Ooh, another one that could be confusing Ooh, maybe some Tatsugiri. So if I was like an unknowing Pokemon fan and wanted like the orange Tatsugiri, this one, not the shiny version, the normal one. Oh wait, hold on. There you go. The normal one. And I found like a shiny version of the yellow. Like I feel like Tatsugiri can be very confusing as well. Good shinies individually, but if you were to find one in the wild, I feel like you just wouldn't notice at least these two. The white one is very easy to distinguish. Oh my god, this one is god fucking awful. Look at Tauros. Literally nothing. Maybe the mane is like a little grayer, but other than that, next to nothing. Mass outbreak event for it. It was so many people passed up shiny. It wasn't even funny. That's hilarious. Turns purple, but flower stays the same. Oh, it color swaps. What color swaps? What, Tauros or Flabebe? Tauros, I'm sorry, bro. Like, changing up gray and black, like, that's just not enough for me. This shit's fucking ass. What is Bombardiers? Bombardiers is kind of hard as well. It's like a black and white stork. The bill gets black or turn gray, but yeah, I don't really like Bombardiers either. Mastiff is pretty different. Tauros, yeah, it's still just garbage. Yeah, Basculin, yeah. White stripe Basculin's also bad. Like, this looks like a Basculin that I've seen in the pond that we're shiny hunting in or near. Like, the color, like it just getting a little brighter or the contrast being boosted, that's simply not enough to tell. What is Dreepies? Pretty sure. Okay, Dreepies is pretty good. Yeah, no, it's Basculin's ass. Yeah, Annihilapes is alright, but they definitely could have done so much better with this. Like, just changing his arms a little bit of a color. Like, it's barely noticeable to where, like, if you saw it, you would be like, wait a minute. But yeah, no, it's not good either. What is Stonejourners? Stonejourners is cool. This is a good color swap right here. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, okay. This is a good color swap. The gray turns lighter, and then you see what I'm talking about. I like Stonejourners. This is like yellow, right? Oh, Mousehold. Mousehold is so fucking ass. Mousehold, literally, the pants and shirt just change from like blue to gray. No. Oh my god. Oh man. Oh, look it up. Look it up. Hackers got hacked. Look up what your shiny Gengar looks like. Oh man. Fire. He thinks shiny Gengar is gonna look cool. Mega shiny Gengar looks cool, but I'm so sorry. The difference, different color, like they have little shirts and pants. If you look carefully, they have like little shirts and pants. Usually those are supposed to be like blue or some shit. Gigantamax was the same as Mega, so yeah, that was amazing. This is straight buns. Yeah, it's literally no change. The Mega and Gigantamax are good though. Are you like, okay, yeah, you're like normal Growlithe. Do you also go gold? Yes, okay, alright. Smoliv gets like a black olive. That's a good shiny, I like that. Do you go yellow as well? Okay, that's a really good shiny actually. And yeah, that's about... Ooh, also the Paradox ones are kind of buns. This is actually nice, but some of them, I mean, it's just going silver. I mean, Violet Paradox Pokemon are just buns in general. Zamazenta and Zacian are also kind of mediocre, but it's okay. I really like the Galarian Moltres. The Galarian Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno is really those are really cool. Oh yeah, 3D Pokemon look extremely desaturated. The 3D Pokemon are extremely bad for no fucking reason. We don't know why, but Game Freak when they made the 3D sprites, they made them so like unsaturated and ugly. I think the paradox for Scarlet, in terms of shiny and just Pokemon in general, I prefer Scarlet so much more. From Koraidon to the Paradox Pokemon. Like, Miraidon's cool, but nearly all the other Paradox Pokemon from on Violet are just so fucking ass. Like, I fucking hate them. They're so garbage. Like, you are, yeah, no. I do like Hariyama, though. I do like a special electric Hariyama. Oh, hey, it's a Toadscroll. Is there any shinies? While I was looking at my box, any shinies appear? Hopefully not. Ghastly's meh, yeah. I have Scarlet. I'm sure you can tell. But yeah, Scarlet was just the version to pick. I remember everyone was saying Violet's the better version. I was laughing everyone was saying Scarlet was the better version, but then when competitive came around and Fluttermane became like a fucking beast, I just started laughing. Also, the Fluttermane shiny trick, which I actually have to do, hopefully before it's patched, because I need a shiny Fluttermane. I need all the shiny Paradox Pokemon. Oh, I'm be honest, dude, I don't really care. I don't really care if this ends. I'm just trying to see. If I get a shiny before it ends, that's yippee. But I'm not going to picnic reset. Not for these, at least. I'll take my 1 out of 513 odds. I don't have the patience to picnic reset for these guys. I'm just knocking them out to see if I get them. Carbinks. Whoa, that's an interesting favorite Pokemon. Yeah, haven't heard that before. That's cool, though. That's understandable. Yeah, my favorite Pokemon is Metagross, and that's also my favorite shiny. Literally, the GOAT was blessed with the best of the best. Okay, hold on. There you go. It's just pink. It's like a pink little guy. It's not the best shiny. It's not the worst. The Pokemon's kind of fucking ass, but it's there. It exists. Fuck. I did not want to run into you. All right, chat. Let's get back to listening to psychology because I have a final tomorrow.
Stuffed animals, sandbox figures, art materials.
So they act things out.
Exactly. They use play to express their thoughts, feelings, hopes, fantasies, maybe even traumas. The therapist observes this play very closely.
As a way to understand what's going on inside.
Precisely. It's used as a window into the child's internal world to understand the roots of their difficulties or disturbed behavior. It can even be part of the diagnostic process.
Fascinating. Okay, one more major theoretical orientation, humanistic therapy.
Yes. This approach is really centered on helping people realize their full potential, increasing self-awareness and acceptance. It focuses much more on conscious thoughts and feelings rather than the unconscious.
And the most well-known form is Rogerian or client-centered therapy, developed by Carl Rogers.
That's right. And this approach is distinctly non-directive.
No, don't kill
Meaning the therapist doesn't tell you what to do.
Exactly. The therapist isn't there to give advice or interpretations. Instead, they create a really safe, supportive space for you, the client, to explore your own feelings and conflicts. The idea is to empower you to find your own solutions and trust your own inner wisdom.
What are the key techniques then?
Active listening is huge. The therapist is fully present, acknowledges,
Wait,
restates,
did
and
the
clarifies
outbreak
what the client is
disperse?
saying, showing they truly understand. And perhaps most famously, unconditional positive regard.
I think the outbreak
Meaning
dispersed.
the therapist accepts the client completely without
It
judging
did. Okay.
what they say or feel. It's a deep sense of acceptance. Rogers believed that when therapists demonstrate
Yeah,
genuineness,
look up
authentic
sandwich.
empathy,
Look up sandwiches,
applying
like how to
forward,
make
and
like
this acceptance
shiny
will
grass
help the client
sandwiches
learn
or
to accept
something.
themselves.
Find a
And that
type of shiny
self-acceptance
that
is
you
key to
want
growth.
That's
and
the
figure
core
out what
idea.
urban
It
mysticas
fosters
are
personal
needed
growth
for that
and helps
sandwich.
people move toward becoming their best selves, or what Rogers called
Look up a
fully
guide. Don't just
functioning
start throwing
person.
shit into
Wow.
a sandwich. You won't
That's
get
quite a
anything.
whirlwind tour of different approaches, from digging deep into the unconscious with Freud to changing specific behaviors to
Welcome back,
restructuring
Moon.
thoughts to
I suggest you
just
pick a Pokemon you want
creating a
first, and
space
if
for
you want a specific
self-discovery.
Pokeball for it,
It
then
really
you go
shows
for it.
how many different
Exactly.
ideas about why people struggle and how best to help them have emerged over the last century or so. It's incredibly varied.
It truly is. So, okay, with all these therapies and medications potentially available,
Okay,
how does someone actually begin the process of getting help today? What's the first step?
let's
It
see.
usually starts with what's called an intake session. This is the initial meeting with a therapist or maybe someone at a mental health center.
What happens during intake?
Well, it's primarily about assessment. They need to understand your
Okay,
clinical needs.
let's
So
reset.
they'll gather crucial information. What brings you there, the presenting problem, as they call it. What kind of support system you have, insurance.
What's up,
details,
Pile?
that sort of practical stuff.
Can they explain things too?
Oh, absolutely. The therapist informs you about confidentiality.
Welcome to the
that
Study
crucial
Shiny
principle
Hunting stream, where we
that they
study
can't share what you
psychology.
say unless legally required or permitted, like if there's immediate danger. They'll discuss fees, expectations for therapy, how often you might meet, and importantly, you start discussing goals together and forming an initial treatment plan.
So it's about information gathering and setting the stage.
Exactly. Building that therapeutic alliance starts right there.
Okay. Once that plan is sort of in place, treatment is delivered through different modalities, right? Different formats.
Correct. Modalities just refers to how the therapy is delivered.
The most classic is probably individual therapy.
Yes, that's the one-on-one with a therapist. Typically, sessions are around 45 to 60 minutes. It's that confidential space.
That's done, and I have a shiny
explore
charm, so I
your
think
feelings,
yeah, you're gonna
personal
be good.
challenges,
Just
and
make
move
yourself a
towards
sandwich, and you'll be
goals you set.
perfect. You'll
Then
be
there's
peachy.
group therapy.
Right. Here, a therapist meets with several clients at once, often people who share a common issue, like grief,
Don't forget, guys, if you wanna
addiction.
make sure you join the stream
What are the pros
when
and
we're doing a
cons
less
mentioned?
boring stream, like
pro
our
highlighted
beast ball
is
streams.
decreasing feelings of shame and
Join the
isolation.
Discord. That's also how you
realize
can
you're
just
not
talk with me
alone in what you're
personally.
going through.
That-
A potential con
do-
can be discomfort sharing personal stuff in front of others.
Join the Discord, talk
Also,
with others in
concern
there.
about
You can talk
confidentiality
with
the
me.
therapist
That's where you can
itself,
find my
even
Discord.
though rules are set.
Okay.
And
Material also
I
notes
always
the
post
psychoeducational
notifications for when I
rules,
stream.
which have a strong
So
learning component alongside the support.
usually I stream
Coping
beast
skills,
ball,
for
the
example.
beast ball challenge, but I was
What about
feeling
family therapy?
Family
unmotivated,
therapy views the family unit as
and
a
I need to
system.
study.
The idea is that each member influences and is influenced by all the others.
So it's not just about
Yep,
one
Pile,
problem.
this is all psychology.
No,
What you're
here's
hearing in the
no.
background is
The goal is
psychology.
often to enhance the growth of each individual member and the family unit as a whole. It helps the family learn to cope better together, especially if one member's struggles
Right
are
on.
affecting everyone else. There are different approaches within family therapy too, like structural or strategic, focusing on boundaries, communication, or solving specific problems quickly.
And finally, couples therapy.
Oh no, it's
Focus
boring as fuck.
specifically on relationship difficulties between partners. The goal is generally to help the couple identify and
Just
resolve
sit back and
conflicts
shiny
and
hunt.
implement
Maybe absorb some
strategies for
psych
healthier
knowledge.
interaction, better listening, maybe healthier ways to argue.
You guys are gonna have a psych
expressing
class in
feelings more
college if you ever
effectively.
go, so
What kind of therapy is
Listen
usually
up.
used in couples work?
The sources note that it often draws heavily on
because I have a
cognitive
final
behavioral
tomorrow.
therapy
That's why
principles,
Pile.
looking at thought patterns and behaviors within the relationship.
Okay. Now, while we have this incredible range of treatments and ways to deliver them, we absolutely have to layer on something crucial you mentioned earlier, the sociocultural model.
Yes, this is so important. This lens reminds us, and therapists, to look at a person, their symptoms, their behaviors, not in isolation, but within the context of their culture, their background, their beliefs, their social environment.
Which
Vileplume?
brings up a really vital question the material poses. How do things like cultural and religious beliefs influence a person's attitude towards seeking mental health treatment in the first place?
Right, and this highlights the absolute necessity for what's called cultural competence in mental health professionals. They need to understand and address issues of race, culture, ethnicity, and use strategies that are genuinely effective for diverse populations, not a one-size-fits-all approach.
So, multicultural counseling.
Exactly. It explicitly integrates these cultural and social norms into therapy. The goal should be consistent with the client's cultural values and experiences. It recognizes that identity is complex. You have individual parts, group parts, universal human parts. It uses strategies that might be universal and culture specific. And it tries to balance concepts.
I just have a
of
psychology
individualism and
class,
collectivism in a way
so
that
that's about
respects
it.
the client's worldview.
But
That sounds
I obviously
incredibly
need to
important,
study so I don't
but also
fail.
complex to do well.
It is.
It's for
And
just like
despite the
general
sophistication of
education.
modern
It's not my
treatments and this
major.
growing awareness of cultural factors, the notes detail some significant ongoing barriers to people actually getting mental health care.
Like what?
Well, basic access and availability are still huge issues. Lack of insurance is a big one. Transportation problems, not being able to get time off work,
Practical hurdles.
very practical. What's particularly telling, the material points out,
Chewy Warhead
is
candy.
that even when access
Nice.
is comparable on paper, minority groups tend to utilize mental health services significantly less often than white middle-class Americans.
Why is that?
There are
That's
multiple
interesting.
layers. Systemic issues like a lack of bilingual treatment options create ethical disparities.
Okay.
And then there's the pervasive power of stigma associated with mental illness, which varies across cultures, but is present in most.
Fear of judgment.
Fear of judgment, fear of not being understood by a therapist from a different background, concerns about family privacy, not wanting to air dirty laundry, sometimes just a lack of education about what mental illness is and that it's treatable.
And then there are personal perceptions and attitudes.
Check if the
mentioned
Pokemon
too.
has a place where it can only
Things like
spawn, like
strong
Carbink
belief
has
in
only one spawn in the
self-sufficiency,
cave
I should
DLC,
be
so I
able to
didn't
handle
make
my
a
own.
sandwich.
Maybe
I went to Blueberry
skepticism about
Academy
whether
to get one
therapy actually
sparkling
works,
encounter meal instead
lingering
as it
concerns
saves
about
resources.
confidentiality, despite the legal
I need to
protections,
complete the DLC
even
first.
sometimes a fear of
I really have to
psychological
complete the
hospitalization
DLC so I
or the
can
trials themselves,
get those
rooted
meals.
in those dark historical images we started with.
It's clear that even though the treatment
Computer science at Harvard is crazy, Pile.
these societal, cultural, and individual barriers represent some of the most significant hurdles we still face in getting people the help they need.
Absolutely. It's a complex picture.
What an incredible and, complex journey we've traced today. From the shocking conditions and, frankly,
Save your game, save your game.
custodial
Always save your
approaches
game
to
first.
asylums, through those rudimentary and sometimes
Yep, that's a
dangerous
shiny, that's a
early
shiny.
interventions, all the way to the vast array of nuanced therapies, sophisticated medications, and different delivery methods available in the modern era.
It really underscores the immense shift, doesn't it? Both in our basic understanding of mental health and illness, and certainly in our approaches to providing support and treatment. It's a field that's constantly evolving, constantly learning.
Definitely. So thinking about this whole sweep of history from, chains and dungeons
Let me
to
see.
discussing neurotransmitters and cognitive restructuring in a therapist's office, it really makes you wonder, what do you, listening now, think is the single biggest challenge or maybe the most exciting opportunity facing mental health treatment as we move forward? Especially considering those persistent issues we just touched on. Access, cultural sensitivity, and that ever-present stigma, something to really mull over as you process everything
need
we've
BP?
explored today.
How do I get BP?
Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so you sent over this really fascinating stack of sources, and today, well, we're diving into two pretty huge parts of being human: stress and happiness.
Right. Big topics.
Huge. We all feel stress, right? But what's actually happening? And then there's happiness, that thing we're all chasing. How does stress even connect to that?
That's a great question.
So, our mission today is basically to unpack all these ideas from your sources, pull out the
No,
really
you
key
don't.
stuff, and hopefully
You actually have to
leave
kill like
feeling
31.
properly informed,
You have to
ready
kill
see
like
how
a
all
good
fits
amount of
together in
them
your own life.
before you get the
And,
shiny
yeah,
boost.
talking about
But
stress, people immediately think of traffic,
but I
deadlines,
think
the
that's
Wi-Fi
just a
going
1 out
down.
of 2,000 shiny you got,
Definitely
dude.
Wi-Fi.
But as your sources rightly point out, that's just, scratching the surface, isn't it?
Unless you
That
had a
person's
sandwich.
view doesn't really explain why I might freak out about a deadline while you're totally cool with it.
Exactly. Like public speaking, terrifying for some, a total buzz for others. So it can't just be the thing itself. And then you think about the physical side: heart pounding, sweating.
Yeah.
But hang on, good things can do that too. Like getting on a roller coaster.
Oh, I even
Feels
know
kind
it's
of like
fluffy.
anxiety, physiologically speaking.
That's a great point. Which is why just looking at the body's response isn't the full picture either. This cognitive appraisal model, though, that offers a much richer way of looking at it. Yeah, it basically says stress comes from how we think about a potential stressor, how we judge it. First, there's what they call primary appraisal.
Primary.
That's
Good.
where you look at the situation and ask, okay, is this potentially harmful? Is this a threat to me?
Right. So like, a new project lands on my desk. Is it an opportunity?
Go
or
to
is
the
it this
DLC,
massive
go
weight
into the
that's
menu
gonna
when you
crush
check your
my call,
sandwiches.
basically?
Oh, okay.
Exactly your call. And then comes secondary appraisal.
Okay, with that.
That's where you look at your resources. Do I have what it takes to handle this? Do I have the time, the skills, the support network?
Where do I
And
go,
stress
though?
really kicks in when you see something as a major threat and you feel like you don't have the resources to cope.
Where do I go to find
It really
sandwiches, though?
highlights how personal
Like, where's the
stress is.
cafeteria?
Really does. It's not the event, it's my take on it
Yeah.
and whether I think I can manage. Okay, now.
Anywhere?
Sources really jump
Okay,
out. It's
like Central
good
Plaza?
stress.
Okay.
Eustress. Seems like a contradiction.
It sounds like it, but it's crucial. Eustress is that positive kind of stress, the sort of motivating, energizing type.
You have to
Like
fly to the
before a
left.
race or a big presentation, maybe.
Exactly, that focused energy. It's actually linked to feeling good, better health, even better performance. Distress, well, that's the best.
Hold on, so go
Feeling-
to the
Feeling
gate?
overwhelmed, heading towards burnout.
Like the
Right, where
entrance?
You just feel drained.
Okay.
Yeah, and often the difference just comes down to
All right.
how we appraise
right
it.
here?
Do we see it as a challenge we can meet or a threat that's going to swamp us?
Okay, let's dig into the physical stuff more. We always hear about fight or flight, what's actually, firing off in the body there.
Yeah, so fight or flight is
Here?
this incredibly rapid,
This place?
automatic survival kit. Really.
Okay.
Your nervous system, your endocrine
Who do I
system.
talk to? Do
they
I talk
just
to this
kick into
lady?
high gear when you perceive danger.
Heart races, breathing gets faster.
Muscles tense up, yeah. Your body's instantly prepping.
Oh,
You
cafeteria.
fight
He talks
the
about
threat or
cafeteria.
leg
Where's
it.
cafeteria?
Super useful if you're facing a saber-toothed tiger.
Less
Walk
useful
up
for
to the
passive-aggressive
gate?
users.
Oh,
Precisely.
okay.
But the trigger can be psychological too. Now, your sources also mentioned something interesting.
Ah!
Maybe fight or flight isn't totally.
I see. Thank you, chat. I have never touched this DLC, so I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing.
Jumpstart is pretty universal.
I'll have to make a
Also
video
with
about it,
versus
or I'll have to play through it
threat.
on
And then
stream.
what they do, fight,
Thank
flee,
you, chat.
and freeze,
This
that can be
fuck?
shaped a bit by cultural learning and norms.
Ah, I see. That's a subtle but important point. right?
0 BP is crazy.
Okay, and this isn't just a quick flash, is it? The sources talked about the general
150?
adaptation of
Fuck,
GAS.
dude.
Right, GAS. That describes the body's reaction when stress isn't just a quick shock.
So how do I
but
check-
persists. It happens in 3 stages. First is the alarm reaction. That's the initial whoa. The body mobilizes resources, that fight or flight kicking in.
Got it.
Then, if the stressor sticks around, you enter the stage of resistance. The body adapts, tries to cope, but it stays.
How do I
on
check my
alert,
challenges?
Kind of running the engine hot.
Right, trying to keep going.
But you can only do that for so long. Eventually, if the stress doesn't let up, you hit the
Shut the fuck up. Okay, there you go. Chat, how do I get BP? How do I quickly get BP? Oh, I didn't mean to go to the entrance. So go to the, you get like 30 battle points for completing easy challenges. On your left controller, the arrow button with the arrow. On my, the arrow button on my left? Hold on. The arrow button with the arrow. What? What the fuck are you talking about? What are we talking about, chat? And why is my Elgato not capturing anything? What's going on? Hello? Okay. I don't know how to. Oh, that's how. Okay, wait. Okay. I think I know how to check my sandwich. Yeah. Hold on. Why is my Elgato not working? Come on, Elgato. Come on. Don't fucking shit out on me now. Okay, if you don't see it first off, then click the right bumper on your right controller. I will. Hold on. Let me turn my... I don't know what's going on. Technical difficulties, my chat. I am so sorry. Come on. Don't just show a black screen. What the fuck is going on? What is going on? Why are you flickering? What's going on? Dude. You're my home slice. Elgato, you've been with me since day one. What is up, my man? Come on. I've had this Elgato for so long, and now he's tweaking. Why is he tweaking? Is it because I'm not studying? Is the universe mad because I wanted to play a little more Pokemon? Oh, fuck, rather than study? As long as I'm on stream, then I don't care what happens. What are we talking about? What are we yapping about now? All right, chat. I think that's how I do that. Oh, thanks for the sub, not fired. Hopefully this works. If it doesn't, I don't know. Okay, hold on. Here, maybe I have to shut it down in Task Manager. Let me see. Let me see if I should shut it down in Task Manager. Let me see if something's going on in the background, if something's not working right. Come on. It just shows this black screen. What the fuck? Alright, here. Let me... Resource value. Let me end. This is concerning. This is my one and only Elgato. These things are not cheap either. Okay, it just said 1 moment, please. Am I gonna have to use my phone? Is this what I'm gonna have to do? Alright, hold on. It must be the system. Hold on. Let me uninstall. I'll try to reinstall it, Chad. Give me a sec. Okay, hold on. Elgato. There you go. 4K capture utility. Let me uninstall this. The hell is this? Damn. Elgato's really changed. They don't even have the old version. It's just the 4K capture utility. Oh, do not close. Wait, what? OBS 64? Hold on. Oh, I know why. Hold on. Hold on, chat. It's because this is a listed source. Let me remove this. And then now I should be able to uninstall. Ain't nothing like a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. Delete. Actually, keep settings. No, you want to delete settings. Fuck settings. You are my fire, the one. Actually, wait, shit. I don't know if that's copyright. Could they copyright claim me for singing that shit? I really like that song, though. They wouldn't do that to little old me, would they? You'd be surprised. They probably would. Just download this shit, bro. Oh, wait, don't exit. Alright. Elgato's re-downloading for some fucking reason. Not Fire says, tell me why, but honestly, I could not tell you. You guys want to look? You guys want to scroll through Instagram? Oh my god. Ibuprofen, Rehab, Recovery Monster, Core Power, Fairlife, 26 grams of protein, and Zen. Yo, if you take all of those, holy shit. Alright, it's downloaded. Let's do this. Do you guys know what Zen is? Does anyone in here know what Zen is? It's kind of fucked. It's kind of crazy. Next, install. Alright, it's installing. Chat, maybe if we say hurry the fuck up, it will hurry the fuck up. Yeah, I'm close to fixing it. Don't worry. I'm reinstalling it. I'm reinstalling the program right now. We should be up and running soon, paisanos. We should be up and running soon. If it's still black, I'm gonna lose my fucking shit. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's still black. It is still... Oh my god, it's doing the exact same thing. Holy shit. Hold on. There's no shot, dude. Oh no, but now I have to reconfigure this one. Because it looks so awkward now. Hold on. Fuck. I forgot how awkward Elgato looks because I cropped the last source out. Alright, hold on, chat. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to reset my Switch. Restart. Alright, I'm restarting my Switch because I guess it's not the hardware. I don't know. HDMI isn't loose. No, it's pretty secure. It's pretty secure. God damn it. There you go. All right. Yeah, that's true. Maybe my dock is fucked. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe my dock is fucked. Well, this dock is very dusty and old. Dude, I really don't want to give into Switch 2 capitalism, but God, do I need one. God, do I need one. My Switch 1 is on its last fucking leg. Why did this open up? Alright. Let me connect my controller. My off-brand controller named B-Monk. That's what I did, mate. It doesn't seem to be fixing. It doesn't seem to be working. Oh my god, the fucking... Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god, the black screen of death. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. Let me... I have to go way under here. Alright. Did that work? Nah, I don't need to watch a YouTube video. There's no fucking way. Why is it still saying no signal? You should have signal. What the fuck? 1, 2, 3. Is my Elgato dead? Is my Elgato dead? What the fuck? Oh. Don't be the black screen of death, you motherfucker. Don't you dare show me Blueberry Academy. Don't show me fucking Blueberry Academy. If you show me Blueberry Academy, I'm gonna lose my shit. I'd rather it just be the black screen. I genuinely think what? I genuinely think something. Okay, so see, now it's just fucked. When in doubt, kick it. Kick, 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 kick. Huh? Huh? Nothing. Okay. Fuck, dude. Are you serious? Are you fucking serious? Ah! This is not it. Not what I wanted today. Oh my god. This is fucked. What is it? Why is it flickering like that? This is so fucked. HDMI. Alright, which HDMI are you connected to? That one? Oh, it's that one. Okay, let me see. Yo. Alright, yeah. Let's pull out. Alright. Peekaboo? We good, chat? Please don't. Please just show me what I want to see. Oh my god. I think my Elgato's broken. Fuck. This is the end. This Elgato's been with me for so long. Alright, whatever. It looks like we're gonna have to end the stream, chat. It looks like Elgato does not like the fact that I wanted to play Pokemon more than I wanted to stream. In any case, this has been a pretty decent stream. I got one random shiny Scyther. However, I got something even more valuable, which is 2 new friends. Welcome, Notfire and Hacker. I hope you guys will be able to join me for the next streams and future streams. I will hopefully do some competitive streams, some more fun shiny hunting streams, ones where I'm not studying. And I will be doing the very god-awful challenge of Beast Ball only. I will return to the Beast Ball only challenge one day, probably next week when I'm done with finals and I'm less stressed. That's just a very stressing challenge, though, and it takes a lot of time and effort, and I don't want to do it right now. So this week is probably only going to be studying and shiny hunting, if I can even get that to work. If I can't, then it'll probably be nothing. But yeah, I hope to see you guys later. Thank you guys so much for watching. I have been Alba. You have been Chat. My Elgato is broken, and I will see you guys in the next stream. Bye-bye. I gotta take a shit, bro. Hold on.